Well, welcome to the Expansion Zone TV. And of course, I'm Sonia Barrett. You're used to hearing me on the radio show, which is the Expansion Zone with Sonia Barrett. But now today, it's the Expansion Zone TV version. The episode that we're doing today is going to be we're going to be chatting with Dr. Cass Ingram, who I've talked to on numerous occasions, and you've heard many interviews. But, in light of everything that's going on today, our health crisis globally at this time, I decided that it would be a great idea to chat with Dr. Cass, and of course, because we're going to be talking about plant medicine, but we're talking about oregano specifically. And I just want to say I've been taking it for quite a while. My entire family does, and the oil and the juice, as we'll talk about, and friends and family, and everybody is well. Everybody that's been taken, and this is way before any of this happened, that we have been taking it from Dr. Cass. So the other thing is that life is all about choices, and to be able to make informed choices, it's a game changer. And so that's what this is all about. So Dr. Cass Ingram is a nutritional physician. He is one of North America's leading experts on the health benefits and disease fighting properties of wild medicinal spice extracts. And that much I'm going to say, because we want to just get right into it. Well, welcome, Dr. Cass, to Expansion Zone TV.
Hey, I'm glad to be on the pilot or whatever.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So it's great. Timing is there. We've talked before about the wonderful benefits of knowing that, of the knowledge, to have that knowledge that the human beings gets in trouble from a lack of knowledge. This is a great example of that. You have to have a basis to survive now.
Absolutely. And, instead, there's just a tremendous amount of fear being marketed. We're hearing fear, but there's very little that anybody's saying about what nutritionally anyway, or herbs. And I'm talking about those that get up on the platform, the political platform, and, even the doctors that they interview. Very little. All we hear about is how long it might take to create the vaccine.
Sure.
Well, there are other things.
Yeah.
So, lead into it, if you would, Dr. Cass, and just giving us an idea, at least from where you think we should start to sort of educate people, and then kind of go from there. Because I'm really not about this repetition of this virus, calling it the name over and over and over.
You're quite wise on that, and it is heavy fear mongering. And then, of course, you see the imagery of people on respirators, and they show like a huge area of beds. A lot of times they'll show empty beds, sometimes beds that are kind of full, and people covered up, and tubes going in, and
disturbing views. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but there's nothing said about what you could do about it. You can't live your life with the little disc in the grocery store that says stand here, and then the next person stand. It's almost like experimental.
Social experiment.
Yeah. God has been nice enough to give us these things, and he actually mentions some things. Let's kind of talk about that. He mentions only two medicines in all of the different sort of holy books or pseudo-holy books or whatever they are, or historical ones. There's never been anything mentioned except two. One of them is wild oregano. It is mentioned heavily. That'd be the Old Testament. The other one is raw honey. I have an example here of a raw wild honey that I'm eating. I just eat it from the spoon. And that'd be the Quran. The Bible would be the other. Why wouldn't we trust God on this one? So what we did was we took the oil of oregano and put it against the human coronavirus, and it destroyed almost every trace of it in 2 minutes. And that was in vitro. Why don't we talk about that? It was a good study that was done in 2003, where you took the virus and made it grow inside cells, so you'd have 5 million for every centimeter of blood. So you have 5 million of these active coronaviruses. Then you add, well, let's see here. You add some of the oil of oregano, add only 1%, and it wiped them out. That should be like total national news.
And it's so simple.
Yeah.
It's so simple. See, got it on my
You
desk.
have it there.
Got it on my desk.
And the juice.
And in the kitchen.
This is big too. That's the ethnobot. I got to do it.
I have mine on my desk, and then in the kitchen, and then my husband carries one to work. So yeah, and my kids, you know.
You're not going to get anything. Your family is immunized. And it's like a spiritual divide, because proactive persons like us who believe in this and are looking into it and what can we do for ourselves, and we're not buying into the panic and pandemonium, we're doing something productive.
Yes.
And what was interesting is that when we did our study and we left a little bit of the oregano inside the test medium, just a little tiny percentage, just the virus, the 150 out of 5 million viruses that weren't proven to be dead, they would not regrow. So we tried to induce those 150 or those 2,000, whatever we would have in whatever medium, to kick back up. The oregano locked them down.
Wow.
In one case, I don't know if I have, I might let you see. Yeah. And not to make the claim or anything, but we took this supplement, which is cumin, oregano, cinnamon, and sage, very biblical. And I'm not trying to preach to anybody, believe me. We're just kind of going over the historical. We take this, we took the capsules, opened them up, put them in the test medium, and got a 100% kill in just about 12 minutes. 12 minutes, man, these people are on a respirator. They're sitting there, you know, in the hospital for 5 days, and the whole system's overwhelmed. And something that obliterates the germ in 2 minutes to 20 minutes, you're not talking about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, the WHO has looked at this. When the people got sick from SARS, what do you suppose I had them put in their bags? Oil of oregano, this oregarous material, and an oregano spray. Every WHO member that was in the pandemic zone in China in 2003 and 2004 went armed with this kit that I put for them. And guess what happened? None of the WHO doctors or nurses or representatives got sick from a pandemic.
Yeah.
We already knew the answer, but no one would do anything about it.
And it makes sense, though. It makes sense that nature has provided everything. I mean, it's this massive, incredible blueprint, and it's just able to repair. I mean, just when you look at the body and how it will repair itself from, you know, from a cut, you know that there has to be a bigger picture. Under the ideal circumstances, though, if we know what to do, then everything is there for us. So that, to me, it just makes perfect sense.
And apparently we do die or we lose from a lack of knowledge. Like if I mean, let's say that this epidemic and I didn't have anything, I could go and harvest some barks off of trees and make tea and survive. But we don't know. I could dig up in a vacant lot some roots, take enough of the root to purge myself and clean myself and survive. I'd be like the Twilight Zone. I'd be the only man on the earth, you know, the guy with the glasses that wanted to read all the books. I'm glad everybody's out of the way. I can read. And then he stepped on his glasses or something. I feel like
that was a
guy.
game changer.
Yeah. So we got to do something different than that. You got to keep me some company, at least your family. So the thing is that the oregano just happens to be the kingpin. You know, when you go to the mountaintops and you look at the oregano growing in the elevations, it grows at the actual cliff and the peak. No other plant can survive. Trees aren't making it. Bushes aren't making it. But the oregano, wild oregano, can grow in those crevasses and all that calcareous, mineral-rich calcium, phosphate, zinc, phosphorus, selenium, boron, copper, manganese-rich rock. And right on that peak, the oregano is flourishing. So it's tougher than a tree. If you harvest that and distill it into the oil that we are using, there's nothing more powerful than that.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's pretty strong too. But the fact that what you said, the fact that it's able to survive no matter what, it's that strong. Well, common sense, I mean, I'm not a chemist or anything, but common sense is going to tell you it's got to have a structure or some properties that it's allowing it to keep repairing itself and to keep going and to, you know, feed itself. And that's what we apparently are taking in.
Yeah.
Not, I mean, you know, from, we're talking about oregano now, but you know, from obviously from
Any plant
plant.
like that's a wild plant would be your
Yes.
best bet, and something that can actually thrive on the rock and digest rock material has to be an extremely powerful substance. And
And
if
there's
you
a lot
take
of
that
minerals in the
power,
rock too.
how's that?
There's a lot of minerals in that rock
A
as
lot of
well.
minerals too for the, you know, and you take that kind of power and you stick it in your chest, or you put it under the tongue like I did, put it on drops and juice if you want, take capsules, and boy, you're gonna feel it right here.
You
You
do.
feel it also with this stuff you mentioned.
Yeah.
Now, I have case histories of people with this disease. I'm writing a book the coronavirus cure.
Mm.
Uh, these case histories I'm collating in my book are people with double pneumonia. Many of them been sent home to quarantine. Many of them have been on, some of them have been on respirators if you can get to them early enough. You can't, they're mostly quarantined, but sometimes you can. But anyway, they either have the diagnosis, which is not easy to do, the testing is somewhat equivocal, or their presumed diagnosis. You know,
Mm.
they sent them home to quarantine. Guess what
Right.
happened? Every one of them is doing perfectly well in short periods of time. One of the kingpins is this. They're taking this essence and drinking it and drinking it and drinking it until it puts them out. And they're feeling something when they drink it right away. So they're encouraged, they keep pounding it. And within a day or two or a few hours, they're out.
Yeah.
Instead of ending up in a hospital on intubation and steroidal drugs. And you know what they're doing in the hospital? They don't know what to do. So they're killing them with morphine.
Wow.
They are definitely doing them out. You know,
Mm.
they're making a decision who to kill with the morphine, who to presume is going to die. You don't put someone in respiratory distress on codeine. You kill them. It's
Wow.
a bad situation.
And most of the people, well, you know, with you saying that, the fact is that the people that are supposedly getting the virus, most of these people do have health condition. And I know that right now they're trying to show cases where people are younger or they're saying that they were healthy. But you know, it's sort of like when somebody has a heart attack. It didn't just happen. Okay, the evidence of it happened right now, but something was going on in your body. And I
Something
think
was
people
wrong.
need to understand that.
That's true. Actually, if you are extremely poorly nourished and a smoker, alcohol drinker, hitting the sugar, not paying any attention to your health, boy, and also nursing home, hospice care, you know, critical care centers, such people are vulnerable.
Yeah.
Not the only people. I know some young millennials that got knocked around. But look what happened in Seattle. There was a nursing home, and boom, like 19 of them just died. And that's happening, I think, in Massachusetts right now.
Right,
So
right. The immune
this is the
system.
problem in America because you
Hmm.
have the nursing homes, you have elderly, you have critical care centers, obesity, drug addicts, homeless. Man, I tell you what, if it gets into those populations, problem.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I mean, again, it goes back to obviously, you know, the state of the immune system. Is that what we're saying? The state of the immune system, and then people with respiratory issues. But then it all seems to be connected. I mean, no matter which way you go, you know, if you're having respiratory issues, aren't you then chances are having immune issues?
Well, yes, it is true. And of course, a lot of respiratory people are on prednisone or inhalers, and they're extremely vulnerable. But the big thing is, if you already have predisposing respiratory, like asthma, emphysema, same COPD, or predisposing cardiac, for whatever reason, this germ, if you don't do something about it, can take you down in a short period of time. Maybe you only have 2 or 3 days to take action. But you see, what's happening is you have people who are oblivious to natural medicine and trust exclusively in the medical system. If I get it, I'll go to the doctor. They're the ones getting killed. You have other people who are proactive saying, look, I don't want this in my family. I don't want this. So I'm going to, what can I buy? What can I get at the health food store? uh, or the things I can buy at the grocery store that build my immune system. They're proactive, and they're quite a bit less likely. But I will say, some young people are getting it. There were some young kids that were partying in Mexico, and apparently the whole plane was exposed, and a couple, three of them got real sick. So you got to watch this thing. You can't be screwing around with yourself and hitting doing big beer parties and big pork roasts and gathering with a lot of people. And it's time to just slow down a little bit.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. And when you slow down, it's what, paying attention to yourself.
Paying
Because that's
attention.
the whole idea is it's, if you're slowing down, it's whether it be what Dr. Cass is saying about your nutrition and how you're caring for yourself. There's also the, the emotional part. It's a complete caring for oneself in every which way you can think of.
It is where you could be run down or something. And there are people who are considering suicide right now.
Oh,
You
wow.
can't be doing foolish things like that, thinking so panicky and fearfully that. And there was a guy who killed himself with a drug. He took a drug from an aquarium source that was chloroquine, and he ate it and he killed himself. Just,
Based on what? Having
well,
the.
on the basis that this hydroxychloroquine was going to do something, and he
Mm,
bought the generic form. It's that
oh,
he bought the aquarium drug form. But you see,
I guess, yeah.
medicine's unfortunately proven to be incompetent in this case, because we're going to rely on this drug. But the thing is, the drug is from quinine, or it's a synthetic. This
Mm,
is the drug, and President Trump's talking about and all that. If they would just get the quinine, see how foolish. If you would just go get the quinine bark from Peru, that might be effective, because
mm-hmm,
the bark is germicidal,
mm-hmm,
but not the drug. If you would just go research the oregano, I already did the research, but go duplicate my work. You
mm-hmm.
would see something effective.
So when you're mentioning about that drug, is it um okay, you're saying if they got it from the bark as opposed to what's what being lab
Synthetic,
generated
lab
or
generated. Lab.
okay.
The
So
lab generated has side effects and has caused fatalities. The natural is already such that you have to be careful. It's a particular drug that has alkaloids, and even that you have to. It's not like oregano. It's a food. It's a drug, even if it's from the bark.
mhm.
So that's the only hope medicine has right now, is that hopefully it will work, but it has side effects. We have nothing else. You cannot take an antibiotic. If you have COVID-19 or you have coronavirus or flu, antibiotics make you worse. Steroids drive you into death. Motrin and Tylenol make you worse. Intubation puts your life at risk. Everything that medicine is doing is hopelessly inadequate. That's where we're at now. Now, look at this. I'm not trying to, sell you on one thing or the other. Here's oregano juice, right? This is God's medicine. So I had 2 or 3 people through a day's time drink the whole thing. And through drinking oregano juice, they got out of the double pneumonia. Shouldn't we look at that? Since that happened within 24 hours, shouldn't that be national news, as at least a survey of
Mhm.
asking physicians to look into it?
Right, because it's a natural substance. So it's not like there's, anything to lose per se. It's not yeah, it's not
Nobody's going to get a side effect.
right.
I mean, in terms of, if the side effect would be you feel better.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
The side effect would be maybe you get out of this thing and not have to be hospitalized. How
right,
can we do anything? The system cannot handle even a moderate increase in this disease. New
right.
York is completely suffocated in it. I've talked to 4 or 5 physicians. They're importing physicians from Massachusetts, from New Jersey, trying to stuff them into New York City. It won't do any good at all. Do you want this thing to go so crazy that maybe 500,000 people die? Is that what it's all about? I mean,
So let me say this too is that along with everything that you're saying, um being out there, when I've gone out there to go to the store, or whatever, people they don't realize that what they're eating, like one of the donut places I won't mention was giving away like a dozen donuts as part of this. So if you're eating sugar and, and again, another person wearing a mask, but then he pulled the mask down to smoke a cigarette. And I was just like, you're just like, okay, this, none of this makes any
Inviting the
sense.
virus in now, huh? Yeah.
But
If we don't learn from this, some people will just die because they didn't pay attention and didn't say, well, I better cut back on those cigs. I got to
and
for
the
the
sugar
yeah,
and the flour.
the sugar. Oh boy, white flour, deep fried food, and pork flesh. There is, I can prove to you that some Chinese got this infection from eating pork flesh, or pork liver, or some of these other organ parts that they love, and it's a filth virus. So if you're going around eating prosciutto and smoked pork, I feel for you. I had one employee that got this disease, or one person. She's not hygienic. She doesn't seem to wash up much, and she doesn't really take the oregano and believe in this. She was eating raw pork. I said, "What are you doing eating something?"
Raw pork.
Yeah, the prosciutto.
Oh, that
Said,
stuff. Yeah.
oh, I didn't know that was raw. I said, well, it's in the first place, you're Jewish. You shouldn't be eating it. But anyway, whoever you are, why would you eat this stuff? She got the COVID-19 a week later.
Mm.
And I don't know if it's connected. I can't say, but suspicious.
Hmm.
And so you just
Well, it's making, I mean, obviously, I think people's diets can make the body vulnerable, more vulnerable, apparently, to, you know, just, or compromise their immune system, or whatever.
there's
Obviously,
no
yeah,
question about it.
yeah.
If a person was to go to this health store in California, for instance, and twice a day get a fresh juice with some ginger, lemon, and garlic, they would be protecting themselves. If a person was to go buy some citrus fruit, they'd be protecting themselves. They go buy onions and garlic and try to slice it up in their food. Maybe they heard me talking about cinnamon. They get a tub of cinnamon and put a teaspoon in their coffee twice. Those are productive things. But what you said is we're paying no attention. Somebody's giving free donuts or free sweet rolls, and we pig out on eat 6 or 8 of them. You might as well get the COVID-19 injected into your spine. I mean, you got to pay attention now, people.
Yeah, yeah, vulnerability, making the body vulnerable to these things. So yeah, for me, it's those are the things that I wanted you to talk about, to address, so people have a better sense instead of just running around. Okay, with putting your mask on, but at the same time, you're not really doing anything to support the body, and instead you're just running around in fear and stockpiling foods,
Yeah.
a lot of foods in the house that are probably going to be to the person's detriment anyway.
Oh yeah, it
You
would
know.
be. It would be the types of foods that you stockpile are usually the unhealthy ones. But the bottom line is the immune system is one thing. We can build that. But I mean, if I had to go into COVID zone, if they called me and said we need you to come, I would be armed with the antiseptics. It's just too
Hmm.
crazy to rely on the immune system alone. So I'm going to do, I'm going to spray myself, even in my eyes, with wild oregano spray. Now, not make up your own, but maybe something that's metered for that. I'm going to spray my chest. I do this 4 or 5 times a day, spray the hair. I'm taking the oil of oregano under the tongue a couple times. I'm going to drink my juice. I take my my pills, but that's more important. And keep your hands, all that. But that plus eliminating the sugar, alcohol, deep fried foods, really greasy foods, restaurant processed foods, and avoiding, like say, the donuts, the cookies, the things that are high in sugar and white flour would be huge.
And I think yeah, in one article that you had sent me, I know you mentioned for probably healthcare workers, I guess for anybody, but I think you mentioned healthcare workers in putting it under the nose, the forehead, the chest.
Where's that at? I use that quite a lot. I see if I find that. I use that quite a lot. That shield, that oregano shield here. I mean, not to show. Might as well know what I'm
Hmm.
doing.
Mm-hmm.
Take that. See, there it is right there.
Oh,
It's
okay.
beeswax oregano. So I take it
Mm-hmm.
like that, and then you take a Q-tip and put it up the nose. So I
Mm-hmm.
know workers and also nurses are using this.
Mm-hmm.
And then you could take that and just do this, and you get 24 hours of protection, no matter what you
Mm-hmm.
touch. If you rub here, it, maybe you rub here, maybe you put
Mm-hmm.
it on the feet, on the shins. Maybe if you have a mask, that's what I did when I went to Seattle, the hot zone. I
Mm-hmm.
took I took my mask on the plane.
Mm-hmm.
I put this, I
Mm-hmm.
put that like a dollop of it on the
Mm-hmm.
mask, and man, that fumigated me so much
Wow.
that I didn't get anything.
Right.
I was with sick people.
Right.
And then they
Yeah.
weren't this hospital grade of sickness. They were in the beginning stages there at Seattle. One person in my audience developed COVID-19, you want to call it whatever you want to call it, coronavirus. He developed it. He was sent home by two physicians saying, "You have it. We're not going to test you. You have to quarantine yourself and stay away from your girlfriend, whatever." And he called me. I called him back. He couldn't hardly breathe. I thought he was going
Mm.
to die. They put him on prednisone. I gave him the oregano oil. That's all he had. I told him 20 drops every hour, and he pulled right out of it in 24 hours. But the
Yeah.
guy went from death to life. And
Mm.
that's what these spice extracts will do for you.
Mm-hmm.
They will prevent you from getting the sickness, and also be used along with your medical approach to clean it up.
Right. Absolutely. But even, if you feel like you're getting, again, like I said, we were taking all of this way before. It was just, it became part of our protocol,
Yeah,
of things that we take. But um, even if somebody's getting a cold outside of all of this, just in general, I mean, and you feel a little scratchiness in your throat, and you take a little bit of this, and I do it under my tongue. I don't put it in anything. I just do the drops under my tongue, and then I let it sit under my tongue for a little bit, and with the juice, I know my friend and we do the same thing. We hold it in our mouth for a while
yeah,
as well.
that's the way to do it. How
Yeah.
did it work for you so far when you had the scratchiness and so on?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, and I don't get anything, but yeah, right away. I mean, just little things, even allergy, because I do get that sometimes because we have orange trees and the blossoms. But
Oh yeah,
um, I will put this in as long as I do that. I might do that couple of times a day, depending on how severe the situation is. And yeah, it does work very, very fast.
yeah.
Or maybe before you
It's
go to
it's
bed in
it's it's a
particular.
must. It's dependable, right? Because you.
Yeah, it's very dependable. But I do find when I do quite a bit of it, yeah, I have to drink a lot of water.
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah,
going to do a lot. Or you can use this softer form,
right.
the hydrosol. It's pretty easy to go into the system. And also, I think we should this is why I do a tremendous amount of this. We should
Mm-hmm.
be doing more right now with the spray, because
Mm-hmm.
anything that might hit us is going to hit here. It cannot
Right.
get how's this germ going to go through your feet,
Right.
in your skin? It has to get into the oral mucosa, through the
Mm-hmm.
nasal, into the sinuses and the eyes. If you're putting energy all over yourself with oregano, bay leaf, and lavender, the energy is so powerful that the negative energy, the nasty energy, the filth energy can't even set a foothold.
Right.
Versus your sugar, which
That's your shield. Ah,
yeah, well, of course, the shield would be huge.
yeah.
But your sugar, your alcohol, or the negative energy, they taking the body down and make you vulnerable. Yeah, for sure.
Oh wow. Man, well, I'm hoping that I won't even say I hope, because I know that there are people out there who will hear this, who will watch this interview, and immediately jump to getting, this oregano oil. I just, as a matter of fact, a friend of mine, I hadn't spoken to her in a while, and then she texted me saying, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I text back saying, "We're fine. How about you?" And she was telling me about, some things that she was dealing with health wise. She didn't have the virus, but she was in a more vulnerable state to be able to have it. So I told her about it. I sent the information you had sent, and she ordered it right away.
Wow.
She got it, and she says, "Wow, this stuff is really strong." So she
Yeah.
started taking it. So that's what I've been doing. So that's my big reason for talking to Dr. Cass. Is one reason
Sure.
is because I truthfully have been taking the oregano for a while, and family and friends have been taking it, and we've all had results way before this whole virus thing started.
That's the truth. That's the truth. And the fact that people with the condition are seeing me, and that physician pockets are using my protocol, and that it's it's turned to be a pretty feeble pathogen.
Mm-hmm.
That I think people need to know that. But it's only going to be natural medicines that will pull us out this time. There will be
Yeah.
no drug or vaccine that will work. And but fortunately, through the God-given natural medicines, we can defeat this and knock it around and get over it.
Going back to nature.
Yep.
Yeah, going back to nature.
It's high time.
Mm-hmm.
All the deaths from chemotherapy, radiation, drug therapy, all 300 to 500,000 deaths a year just from drug interactions and antibiotic overuse. That's enough.
Mm-hmm.
Enough people that have lost their lives. Let's put an end to this. Get the word out like you're doing wonderfully about the P73. Get the P73 wild oregano, 100% wild, not farm raised. I don't know about farm raised. There's about 8 out of 10 oreganos are grown, and I'm not sure how that works. I know that the wild will work.
Right.
Rest your shirt on.
Untainted, just the wild stuff from nature.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Now, is there anything else you'd like to add, or
Well, I would just say that I've written a new book called How to Use Oregano for Better Health. That's only anybody can get. And then there's the Doctor's Guide to Oil of Oregano, 101 uses. And go to my non-commercial site. What I'm talking about here, you won't find for sale. So you can just study it. You may be a little skeptical looking at that. That's CassIngram.com. I appreciate skepticism. Go there, CassIngram.com, and you will see the articles on the antiviral properties or antimicrobial properties of natural medicine. Spice oils are the focus.
Now, when you mentioned honey as well, just wanting to mention that. So you suggest that as part of a person's protocol, or?
I do. In the final protocol on my new book on coronavirus, there's the last section, and it lists the oregano, the spray, the juice, and then it puts a section in on also take wild raw honey, get the best raw honey you can find, take this amount, that amount, depending on your severity, and also to take it preventively. But listen, if you go to oreganol.com, that's oregano with an L, everything we've been talking about, you can see it there. Oreganol.com, you'll see there's those wild honeys. Keep in mind that Manuka honey is good, but Manuka honey and all other common honeys are fed sugar. They feed the bees sugar. I'm kind of a purist. I like to support beekeepers that leave their honey for the bees, and then produce some more robust. Then I have something that's wild.
A lot of local.
Powerful.
And
not only delicious, but I want something that I can rely on, whether it's this or another, that's going to get some punch to this.
Yeah.
And those commercial honeys that are cheap, and I'm not sure what they can do.
Right. Absolutely. Well, do you think we've covered everything at this point?
Covered everything, but I'll give you a list of natural medicines with antiviral: onion, garlic, cumin, sage, cinnamon, bay leaf, oregano. Raw honey, that's 8. That's all you need to know.
That's it. And back off the sugar and the flour.
Back off of anything that's not made right straight out of the ground to you.
Right. Awesome. Well, Dr. Cass, I want to thank you so much for sharing. You're always sharing just a wealth of information, and that's what we need today. I mean, we talk about the fact that this is the information age, but this, when it comes to the health of the body, that is number one. Otherwise,
nothing is being said other than your show. Not a word from the government authorities, WHO, NIH, nothing about how you can build up your health. How many times can you wash your hands before they fall apart? How much alcohol swab can you use? I mean, enough. You know we should wash our hands.
Wash your hand. And the best one is wash your hands after you've used the toilet.
Oh, I see.
Whoopsie. Anyway,
At least you'll get the knowledge here. You may not need to go buy anything, but you'll have the knowledge that you'll be armed with to fight back.
right, absolutely. All right. Well, I want to thank you so much, Dr. Cass, for being here, for coming on, and I'm excited to share this with my audience and all the new people that will become my audience.
Oh, I hope so.
Uh,
I hope the whole world comes to see you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in. And of course, be sure to also tune into my show on Mondays at 1 p.m. on KPFK, The Expansion Zone with Sonia Barrett. And I think that's it. TheExpansionZone.com to check out this interview and all the other interviews that I have there. And remember that choice is up to you, but you have to be able to make informed choices. So investigate, ask questions, and see you next time. Take care.